Joining the podcast is a former quarterback for the Sumiton Christian Eagles and the Troy Trojans. Josh, where did the love for football and particularly playing quarterback come from as you played quarterback in college and your older brother Adam played at Mississippi State and Troy?
Yeah, man. I think it started with our dad. So my dad was also a quarterback at Dora. He threw the ball. He threw the ball well, but I think back then they ran a lot of option. But just growing up, we all loved football, and Dad taught us. He taught us a lot as far as throwing the ball and playing quarterback. And then my brother, he's actually 7 years older than me. And he taught me a lot too about playing quarterback. So I think that's where the love came from. I mean, everybody in my family, from my cousins and my uncles, I mean, we all just played football coming from a small town. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's where it all started.
Well, did you enjoy watching your older brother Adam have success there at Dora and then on to Mississippi State and Troy, or was there a little bit of a sibling rivalry there?
No, 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 man. He's so my brother's always been my a hero to me. And he, don't tell him I said this, but he was a better quarterback than I was. But I got to Joey Jones was his coach at Dora back in '92 and '93. So his junior and senior year, they really had an opportunity to win a state championship. I think they got beat by Freddie Kitchens at Etowah and Oxford their senior year. But no, I was the biggest fan. I remember being a water boy, you know, and actually getting involved in some of those huddles, and I remember that really well, even though I was only in the fourth and fifth grade. But I learned a lot from him, and I mean, my dad, and my brother, they had me doing three-step drops when I was like, 5, 6 years old.
Well, what kind of team did you have once you kind of got to high school and got to have your shot as quarterback?
Man, so my ninth grade year, Coach Dave Campbell came in, who happens to be my uncle, and Coach Campbell came in, and he really just he made all of us hit the weights, and I think he just taught us how to win. But we had some really good teams at Sumiton Christian. My 10th and 11th grade year, we were in the AISA. So when we went to Alabama High School my senior year, we really wanted to prove ourselves. In the area, there was a lot of talk about how we were playing the private school stuff, and we wasn't that good. And I think we really gained respect my senior year. But those years, man, we actually went 12-1 my senior year, and we lost to Hazelwood who we lost to Hazelwood 19-15. They went on to win the state championship. But we really had, we had an opportunity to, if we'd have won that game, to go on and win it all. But man, we had some really good players that I played with. I mean, we had Mikey McCarty. He was like white lightning, man. He too went to Troy, and a couple of years was the fastest player at Troy. Even, I mean, he was hitting 4.4s. And then so Mikey was, a really good player. And then, man, we had like Kel Tucker on the other side. That was a really good receiver, ran really good routes, caught anything in his area. Cameron Lee could go up and get it, and Marcus McCarty, who became All-State. We had big running backs and linebackers like Cody Williams and Joey Webby. And then all those guys up front, Ryan Fowler, Eric May, Scott Perry. I'm getting old now, so I'm having to remember all this. You got Chris Cole, Brandon Roberts. Man, we had a lot of guys that senior year, but I also played with some really good guys. My ninth, 10th, and 11th grade. We always had really good seasons. We won a lot of football games, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, our coaching staff, not only do we have Coach Campbell, but we had Coach Ronnie McCarty, who's a great man and a great coach. Roger Mims was there, Mark Sargent. We even got old Lance Blair to coach some, and then in the earlier years, I got to play for David Ball, and so that was some great times there. It was, we made a lot of memories.
Well, how did you end up deciding on going to Troy? Did you have any other options college-wise?
Well, honestly, I was undersized. I was small. I guess they listed me at 6 foot 185. That might have been a stretch my senior year, but so I got a call. Signing day had already passed, and I mean I had talked to some smaller schools, and in my mind I was probably going to try to go to Sanford, who was offering just a partial, but I was really discouraged, didn't know what to do. I went to I was at church one Wednesday night, and this was well past signing day. It was either March or April. Wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had an invite, like a walk-on invite to UAB, but I really didn't feel great about that. And so my mom, when I got home, she said, Larry Blakeney called you, and he said he didn't care what time it was to call him back. Back then we didn't have cell phones. So I called Coach Blakeney, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And he just told me that they had signed 2 quarterbacks, but one of them was likely going in the draft. And if that happened, he said they, watched my film and everything and wanted me to come down and play. So I went on a visit 2 days later to Troy. I think Mikey went down with me, and so we went down there. We went down there in the summer, and that's how it all happened.
Was that y'all's plan, you and Mikey McCarty? Did y'all want to go to the same college?
Yeah, we did. There was actually me and Mikey. We wanted to try to go somewhere. I mean, we've been playing ball together since the our eighth grade year, and we spent millions of passes and stuff. We also, Kel Tucker and Cody Williams went down there too. We all 4 went down there, so we were all 4 down there for a while.
Well, when you finally got down there, did you have a certain moment in practice or maybe a game or something where it was kind of your welcome to college moment?
Yeah, day one. So I can remember I was trying to gain weight, so I was drinking whole milk. And the very first workout that we all went to, all those guys I named, I think we all were drinking whole milk to try to gain weight. And looking back, it was an actual light day in the weight room. But when we were running, we thought that we were in good shape, and we were not. Everybody ended up yakking on the field that day. And but I also, come to reality moment was when the first time I went to a 7-on-7. So, in high school, you're great, or you think you're great, and then you show up and you're at a 7-on-7 and guys are flying around. And the quarterback at the time, he was a really good quarterback. Brock Nutter was there. He was from Hoover. I think he played at Troy about 8 or 9 years, it seemed like. But so Brock, I was out there watching Brock, go to work, and, super arm strength, very quick, everything was really fast. And so that was my time, because I think there were 7 quarterbacks when I got down there to Troy.
Well, what were some of the biggest adjustments? Because you went from, small, tiny private school in a small town to FCS football. What was the biggest adjustment other than, like you said, just the pure workout aspect of it?
Well, I think the speed of the game, and I think that's for any high school level, you got to get used to the speed of the game. I don't care if you're 7A football. Going to D1 is a big adjustment. But yeah, I mean, it's all about how quick you get it out of your hand. I think from a quarterback standpoint, you've got to know where your blitzes are coming from. and I had to learn that the hard way by getting jacked up a couple of times. But yeah, you definitely get in that room studying film and knowing where your blockers are and how many you got and how many people are coming. And so that's probably the biggest adjustment was, I mean, obviously physical. I mean, you got guys you got really, really big guys on the defensive line and these linebackers that are running 4.5s that are, 235 pound. So that's probably the biggest adjustment.
Is there any one thing in particular that you can remember that you may have been able to get away with playing at Sumiton Christian that you may have tried at Troy and you realize I cannot do this?
Yeah, I think, and I think it goes for all of high school. A lot of times you could be late, like you could throw a route late, and have the arm strength to overcome it. But being open in high school and being open in college are a couple of different things. You see guys, throw it through windows on a tube route. And if you throw that ball late, the safety or a linebacker is going to pick it off. So I think in high school, you're able to, get away with some throws here and there. You can't do that in college. It's got to be thrown. You got to know where it's going, and you got to get it there quick.
Obviously, like you said, college is a lot faster than high school. And being a quarterback, you almost have to anticipate kind of throwing before the receiver even gets there, makes his break. Was that kind of one thing that you noticed was a lot different than high school?
Yeah. There's no doubt, because you got that clock in your head, because you got pressure. Even if you don't have blitz, a lot of times somebody's going to get beat, so you don't have very long to get rid of it. But yeah, that was the biggest thing was in high school, I don't think we threw over the middle as much with the tube routes and the seam routes and stuff like that. You didn't see as much coverages, where they were trying to disguise different things. And so that's really the biggest adjustment.
Well, you had two teammates at Troy, one of which is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this year, DeMarcus Ware and O.C. Umenyiora. Do you have any stories about either one of those guys? I know you mentioned DeMarcus Ware. He had ran the 40 for some NFL scouts that had came down to Troy, and it was pouring down rain.
Yeah, man. So D Ware, when we got there in 2000, he came from Auburn High School, and he played wide receiver in high school. He was 205, and so he hit the weights and he started gaining weight, and he was a absolute machine. So when after our senior year, we were sitting in class because we had a lot of business classes together, and he was telling me that he didn't know what to do because his agent had called him, and he was supposed to work out in front of some NFL coaches, and I think a couple of head coaches were actually there that day, had flown in to see him, and he said, "Man, everybody's telling me not to work out, not to run." And he said that it could hurt my draft status and all this stuff. He actually went 11th overall, first round to the Cowboys. But and I asked him, I was like, "Well, what are you going to do, man?" And he said, "I think I'm going to run." So I said, "Well, I think I'm going to go, I'm going to go watch you." So he ended up, even though everybody told him not to run, he said, these guys came a long way to see me work out, and I'm going to honor that by working out. And so he goes out in the rain and ran a low 4.5, but his senior year, he was closer to 260 at the time. So things worked out pretty well for D. But there was one time, another story that I have on DeMarcus was for a personal story. So we were running a drill. I don't know if we were in a scrimmage or we were running a drill. We're doing something where I'm running a speed option and I'm pitching it off of DeMarcus. So I went to pitch it, and I faked the pitch. I turned it up inside. He went with the fake, which if you ever, that's probably the only time that I was ever able to get DeMarcus. But I'm sure, with my speed, I probably got hit by a defensive tackle 2 yards from there. But I'm sure DeMarcus, he probably remembers that because I think I talked trash about it for our remaining time at Troy.
Yeah, you faked out a NFL Hall of Famer. That's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say it wasn't. It really wasn't nothing special, but I remember it because we laughed about it because, I don't have much speed. I got him that one time, and so I talked trash about it for a while. But we had some really good times back then.
Did DeMarcus stick out like a sore thumb as far as you just kind of get down there and you just kind of know, just watching him and looking at him, that this guy's NFL bound for sure?
Yeah, I think we all knew it. Now, I think we all knew it. There was a lot of guys that I played with, that we played with, that went to the NFL. We had some really good defenses at Troy, and then we had some special guys come through on offense as well. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody knew, especially by the time he was a senior, that he was going to not only go to the NFL, but he was going to be great in the NFL.
Well, Josh, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast and chat a little ball with me. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, buddy.